not mean. Just not. You guys just had a huge orb go past you. You're going to see on the tape. Literally came
Really?
Came from David and just went across the screen.
All right, so if you're watching the video, you can actually see the orbs go by.
Came from David and just went across the screen. She's moving through here. I just want to tell you that she's moving through here. You're going to see her twice. Now I've seen her twice.
The orb is one of the grandmothers, you think?
Oh, I know it is.
Oh, okay.
I know it is because we're talking to them.
Our world is magnificent, filled with life in every imaginable form. But what if at the root of all these diverse forms, there was one energy, one conscious energy that created everything we know by becoming everything we know, including you. Come with us as we peek behind the curtain of what we call reality and explore the limitless wonders of consciousness in the Realization Lab. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of our new podcast, Realization Lab. I'm Jay Sherrick. There's David Ron, my longtime writing partner and friend.
In the flesh.
Yep, there he is. And David, this is exciting. We're launching a new podcast.
This is super exciting. We should launch a new podcast every day.
Yeah, I'm not sure we can do that. But do you know the concept of the podcast?
I know the concept of the podcast because you have told me the concept of the podcast.
So what's the concept?
All right, the concept is we are going to be exploring all things spiritual that are cool and fun and kind of interesting to dive into and exploring them somewhat in depth.
That's pretty good. The idea is that we're going to create a virtual laboratory to not just explore but also experiment with all the most profound and powerful and just plain fun stuff in the spiritual world.
So exactly what I said.
Yeah, more or less, but I think I like the way I said it better.
That's how it works around here.
We're going to have guests who have incredible stories. We're going to have past life regressions and people channeling spirits from the other side and extra dimensional beings.
So crazy people are going to be joining us.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the beauty of having you here. Because for the episodes where we're interviewing people, you'll be with us.
Yep.
And you and I have different perspectives. Your background is a little bit more in the scientific world.
Yeah, I would say true or real,
well,
demonstrable.
And I'm someone who has spent the past 30 years pursuing
in fantasy.
or pursuing spirituality, and I'm someone who's basically all in on the spiritual.
You are definitely all in.
Yeah, so you'll be there to keep it real and keep us grounded to a certain extent, but we'll mostly ignore you. All right, so our first guest for the first episode is a fantastic guest. I'm so excited that she's
I can see that you're very excited.
Yeah, her name is Susan Grau, and Susan, I'm so happy to have you here on the show.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Tell us, if you would, just who are you? What do you do?
Well, I'm Susan Grau.
So
Correct.
far, 100%.
And, yeah, and I am I'm an intuitive medium. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a counselor, addiction and grief counselor, and I do hospice work and just different things that I do to help others. That's my goal.
And you have special skills to do that in a way that's very powerful and unique, which we'll get into. I also want to say, though, you are also a wonderful author. I have read your book, and I was just telling David, it's as good a spiritual book as I've ever read.
Thank you. I didn't plan on being a writer, quite honestly, so this means a lot to me.
You've had a very difficult life, a lot of challenges in your life, and you talk about particularly this episode in the beginning of your life, which I want to sort of walk through because I think it's full of so much wisdom. So tell me, where, as a child, you were growing up in what part of the country?
La Puente, California.
Right. And your mother had a unique skill, correct?
My mother and my sister and my brother. Mm-hmm.
And you, of course, had it as well. What is this skill?
Well, I remember being itsy bitsy. I mean, it's the only thing I remember about being 3 years old. And I remember seeing animals float when they would cross. And it was natural to me and normal.
So when you say animals, you would see animals that would die, and then you would see the spirit of the animal cross over, like leave the body of the animal.
Yes, I still do.
You still do. And you're 3 years old at the time, and you just think that's the most normal thing in the world.
Yeah, I've never thought anything. I just was. I didn't think even. It just was. It was interesting because I didn't see, to my memory, I didn't see human type spirit.
Right.
I just saw the animals, but then I had no one that crossed, so it wasn't something I would normally see anyway.
Right.
But at roughly almost 5 years old, I was a couple months away from 5, I got locked in an unplugged freezer in a garage.
She just dropped that in.
Yeah.
Well, because it's my story, it's my normal,
she
right?
just dropped that in like, so I got locked in a freezer.
But to give a little context to it, you're a 5-year-old kid, you're playing with a group of kids about your age or so, and to play a little trick on you, kind of, they locked you in the freezer, basically, right?
Well, I don't think it was a trick necessarily. They were kind of mean boys, and they had done other things to me. But they said if I wanted to keep playing, that I had to climb up and get popsicles. Now, people always say to me, well, if you're, why would you climb up in an unplugged freezer? Well, I didn't know it was unplugged. And I'm reaching up, and they closed the freezer door. And I thought, oh, surely this is just, I'm part of a game right now. We're playing a game. And then I heard the garage door thud. And I recognized instantly it was so organic and so absolute that I was in big trouble and I wasn't going to survive.
So the freezer door behind you, they closed it and it had locked, and you were sort of facing your back to the door,
inward,
and you couldn't, there was no way, I'm sure you tried to push your way out, right?
Oh, I tried to wiggle and turn and everything, but I was between shelves and the door.
Right.
And also, doors didn't open then. That's how a lot of children passed away, is the doors wouldn't open.
Right. They had like latches
from the inside.
back then.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my
It was
God.
one of the first freezers upright.
Oh.
So I was standing upright. But I couldn't move. I couldn't wiggle. I couldn't move. I couldn't flip myself. I couldn't do anything.
Were you in a panic? I mean, I would have been in
I
an absolute
was.
panic.
At first, I wasn't panicked, because I thought they were going to open it. But when I heard the thud of the garage door, absolutely, 100%, it was automatic panic. And I remember this feeling of, I'm going to die, but I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I was no longer going to exist. Something really bad was happening. And I went into panic mode and started screaming at the top of my lungs. And I'm talking about the kind of scream. My mother heard the scream. She thought it was cats.
So your mother is in the house somewhere, like doing housework or something like that, and she thought it was just cats in the garage.
Yeah, and because we had lots of cats, and when they're in heat, they make a very high-pitched sound. That's the sound of terror in a human, is that very high-pitched scream. But she said that she heard it, and she ignored it because she thought it was the cats. And I kept screaming.
And then what happened?
I remember seeing 3 lights, and they looked like orbs now, looking back. So I can only explain this to you as an adult. I can't give you the words of a child. Once in a while, you'll hear the child in me when I'm talking about it, because I can, but most of this is coming from now and understanding as an adult woman.
Right.
But I started screaming at the top of my lungs, and these 3 beautiful lights came in. I call them my angels.
Into the freezer, these lights came?
Yeah, and so the freezer wasn't dark anymore. And they said, "Stop screaming, Susie." And I didn't. First of all, I didn't know who they were and why they were saying it. And secondly, it's like, I'm in panic mode. I'm not going to just stop. And then I heard one very strong voice say to me, "Susie," almost like my mom would, "Stop screaming. We're going to get your mommy." And I felt the energy of what you would feel like, but first.
So it was like, we're going to get your mom, but first we want to show you some things. Is that what the feeling was?
Well, yeah, we're going to get your mommy. And it felt like, but first. But they didn't say it. But it felt that way, like we're not getting her right now, basically. That's how it felt.
I'd be like, no. Get her right now.
Yeah.
Little lights.
Yeah. But this thing came over me, this sense of calm that I can't describe. It was like when you sit into a warm bath of water and you've had a long day and you've been frantic or have anxiety and you slide into that, or a nice heated bed in the cold winter. That's what it felt like to me when the lights came.
I see, yeah.
And the next thing I knew, I was at the bottom of a stairway, and it was all cracked and old.
Right.
And there was a room above me, and it had these beautiful light pillars, and I don't know how to describe that in any other way. They weren't solid, they were light pillars. And I knew I had to get up there, and I knew there was something in the middle of that room.
The room at the top of the stairs.
Yes. And so I thought it, and I was there, just at the top. And I was on the edge of this beautiful, what I called the well.
And you look into this well, and what do you see?
Oh, well, I was standing on the edge, and first I want to say I wasn't afraid. It was infinite and dark, and I wasn't afraid. That to me is such an amazing thought that, I'm a little girl on the edge of a deep hole, and I'm not afraid.
And was the well at foot level, or was there sort of a wall and you had to look over the wall?
It was at foot level.
Foot level,
It was
okay.
just, it went into the ground.
Extra scary.
Yeah, extra scary.
Yeah.
I call that a bottomless pit, but you've called it a well.
Yeah, I called it a well. I mean, I didn't even think bottomless pit. I wasn't afraid. And I was looking into this beautiful space that was like space. It was pitch black. And I remember seeing words coming up. And I felt like I knew what prayers were at that age because I was Catholic. And it felt like prayers. And I was hearing people say, my mommy has cancer. God, please don't let her die. Or I'm turning 16 and I want a car and my dad says no, or my mom says no. And I really want it. God, please make them get me a car. And just all these different thoughts.
Right.
But it was one consciousness. It all moved like DNA into one consciousness. And I wanted to know, do you answer all those? Like, do you answer? Because I knew what prayers were.
And so you turn to the angels and you say, are you going to answer these or not?
I did. I said, do you answer all these? Typical precocious 5-year-old,
And what did they
almost
say?
5. They said, no, Susie. Sometimes what people desire the most is not good for them.
Wow.
And I didn't like that because my mom would say, just because you want it doesn't mean it's good for you.
Right.
But there was something in me that understood something.
The angels that were with you had a name for this room, correct?
The room of heart's desires.
Yeah. So all those prayers were the heart's desires of all these beings all over creation.
Why do you think they wanted to show you this?
Well, I don't know, but I was born with the ability to speak to spirits or see spirits and hear spirits, and I think that I was meant to do this work, and I really believe that I saw all this, and it was the opportunity for them to expand me and my consciousness so that I could do this work well.
Okay, so you've been in this room of heart's desires, and that's not the end of this journey into this other realm that you've wandered into, or you've been guided into.
I looked ahead of me, and I saw what I called the yellow brick road.
Right.
And it was like it was just there.
Right.
There were pyramids in the front of the road, and I was watching humans. And they were going to the bottom of this pyramid and pulling from the bottom. And
Right.
I'd watch the pyramid move, like out of balance.
Right, because they're taking out the foundation.
Yeah. And I thought, is that going to fall? That's what was in my head.
Right.
But I watched them start paving their path. And then I saw a couple of them drop to their knees and praying and saying, for the love of God, please help me. Nothing's going my way. Nothing's working out. And they were having this like breakdown, and I felt really sad for them. That was one time I had like an intensive feeling.
Right.
And then I watched the angels come in, or these entities, guides, angels, come in, and they started removing the pavers and putting them back, and I watched them go to the top and pull from the top and start paving the path, and the pavers were recreating themselves.
every time they would take one off, another one would appear. And so there was an infinite supply of pavers.
I asked them, what are you doing? And they said, we are the pavers, you are not. All you have to do is walk it. And I said, how do you know if you're walking it right? And they said, we bless and block everything, Susie. Make no mistake. You will, during your life journey, you can get through a block battered and bruised at best, or you can shift. And when you shift, if you still see a block or a wall, shift again. And if you see it again, shift again, until you see us paving your path. What you run from chases you, and what you try to control controls you. So just walk the path and we'll be there helping you.
You've memorized that moment.
I didn't memorize it. It stayed.
It stayed.
I stayed my whole life.
Okay, so hold on. So these, let's call them human souls, were there, and they were trying to build the path for themselves of their own effort entirely. And they were pulling out pavers from this pyramid and putting everything out of balance, and the path that they were creating wasn't working, and they were filled with despair. And the lesson that these guides showed you was that it's not for us to build our paths, at least not alone, that they are the pavers, that they can lay the path, and it's really our responsibility to walk this path that is been created for us. And then you asked, as a little precocious kid, you asked, well, how do I know if I'm even on the path? Because we all doubt that. That's pretty wise for a 5-year-old, because,
I think they put those questions in my head.
Put it in your head.
I do.
But the response was, when you're going the wrong way, we give you blocks. And when you're going the right way, we send you, what was the other?
Bless. They bless and block.
We bless it.
We know.
Yeah, we just have to listen to our own inner voice and the circumstances around it.
Yeah. When they talk about trying to control something, think about the things that we try to control, how we can't let go of it. We want it so bad that we're trying to control everything about it, and we're just focused on it. It controls us.
Yeah.
It controls our thinking, our actions, our behaviors, the way we treat people. It controls us. And everything I've ever run from has come in front of me again, because it's a lesson. So it's chasing me.
Yeah.
So when they said that later on in life, I totally understood what they meant.
They said, what you run from chases you, and what you try to control controls you.
Just walk the path.
Yeah.
And I have never done it. I want to say that I've tried to control everything in my life
of course.
Until I got older. When I got older, something changed in me, and I understood. I had to go through so much trauma to understand what they meant. But I always thought, you're supposed to push your way through. You're supposed to make it happen. That's how you manifest. No, manifesting is asking them, and they hear you the first time. We forget that.
And they said in that speech you just related to us, they said, you can push your way through it. You can get to the other side, but you'll end up battered and bruised.
At best.
Yeah, at best.
And when they said that, I didn't even know what they meant.
Yeah. Oh, I do.
Yeah.
It's very hard to give up control and trust that things are going to work out when you let go.
Right. And the thing is, it's not about not doing the footwork. They talked about doing the footwork. You walk the path.
Yeah.
You have to do the footwork, but
Yeah.
the outcome is in their hands.
Right.
And if you ever notice the outcome of anything, when it doesn't go our way or when it does go our way, we like to take, ownership or blame somebody else when it doesn't go our way, but in truth, it wasn't meant for us.
Yeah.
And I always find that later throughout my journey, even in my infertilities and adoptions and everything I've been through, I always knew somewhere that when it worked out, now I understand why that didn't work out.
Yeah. Always. You look back and you go, thank God I didn't get that job, because I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity in my life, which is, I think we've all had that experience. I certainly know I have too.
Yeah.
I also think it's there's 2 lessons now in the room of heart's desires. You were told, no, we don't answer every prayer, because sometimes things aren't in a person's best interest. And then you're seeing them build these paths, and they're saying, don't build the path on your own completely. Let us build it, and let us help you down that path. They relate the 2 messages.
Yeah.
Okay, from there, they then lead you into yet another area in the world beyond the veil. Tell us now where you go from here.
So my next little venture was, it was like a flash. That's what it felt like. But I didn't see light flash. It was just a flash of a nanosecond. Right. And I was in this room and I saw this little girl with a family. And this little girl was saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And the whole family was going, yeah, and we'll be there to help you do this and we'll be there to help you do that. And we're all in it together, you know. And they were a soul family. And I could feel that they loved each other. So that's why I say they were a soul family. And the guides were there.
Right.
And I clearly knew they were guides. I don't know how, but you know. And they said, oh, no, that's way too much to take on.
They're saying this to the little girl. She's saying, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And there are these other souls around her in her soul group saying, oh, we're going to be here to help you and we'll play all these roles and sort of be there to support. And the guide is saying to the little girl, you slow down. This is a little bit more than you can handle.
And she was like, I can do it. I know I can. I can do it. I want my soul to grow and grow and grow and expand. And she's going on. And they said, well, you do have free will. And boom, they were gone. And I said, where did they go? And first of all, I did ask, where am I?
Yeah.
And they said, you're in the room of knowledge.
And what they were discussing was this soul, this young girl, represented as a young girl in this moment, was about to incarnate and was planning out her life's journey, correct?
I asked them, where did they go? And they said they went to their next incarnation. Now, let me tell you, I had no idea what they meant, no clue. I was about 10 years old when someone said, do you believe in reincarnation? Like, I guess their parents talked about it, I don't know. And I said, oh my God, there's that word. And I knew exactly what it meant.
That's fascinating.
But they said that, and so they just said they were going to their next incarnation, and I just accepted that. I accepted everything. It wasn't like I was fighting anything or that it was foreign to me. I just didn't completely understand everything. I was still me.
Okay, so you're in the room of knowledge, and you realize that we have these things called soul contract, where we make decisions and arrangements with others, and a purpose in life. And in a way, this all ties in to that path you were saying and the messages of the other two rooms, because
I never thought about that, but it does.
Yeah, right, because it's saying that there is a path for you to walk on, and really that path is the decisions, the contracts, the life you arranged for yourself is the path, is it not?
Yes. And later on, when I recognized what they were saying, it made total sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, wow, we're actually planning it. And they explained free will to me, because this is what I saw.
Right.
The little girl, they literally looked at her and said, well, you do have free will, right? And they were gone. So I understood at that moment, you know, I said, what does all this mean, basically? I didn't say those words, but I'm asking them.
Yeah.
And they said, free will looks like this. If your soul wants to resonate in the understanding of something, you will go through it. How you go through it is free will. So, for an instance, this is me giving you this, not them.
Right.
If your soul wants to resonate the understanding of marriage, you will be married. That is the contract.
Right.
Who you marry, how long you're married, the kind of marriage you have, et cetera, is free will for your soul to grow and expand. Now, people ask me all the time, why does your soul need to grow if it's perfect? Because it is. It is your greatest healer. It is the vine to the divine. It's your connection. And it heals you and it helps you. The reason it needs to grow is because it's infinite, and anything that is infinite grows. It goes on and on and on. It continues. It's a continuum. So that's why our soul comes here to grow.
And the example of free will that you were seeing in that moment with that little girl was the guys were sort of saying this might be a little bit much to take on, and she had the free will as an independent soul to say, no, I can do it. I want to do it. And they kind of had to allow her because that was her will, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, you think about how many doors we have in options.
Yeah.
You think about it, if there's 3 doors there and you walk in one and you're going to get married to a narcissist and he's a narcissist, but you're afraid to be alone, you marry the narcissist, that's one path. Or you could walk out the door and you could go in the next door and go, I'm not marrying that guy, I'm going to meet somebody better, or that girl. So we have these choices, and they're important choices, and they give us choice.
Right.
Because
and you weren't speaking necessarily about David's wife in that instance, right?
It wasn't specifically about her.
No.
Okay, so after you've been in this room of knowledge, there's one final stop in this journey that you take as a 6-year-old, and they take you to where's next?
Well, I flashed into this beautiful place where animals were.
Right.
And they were everywhere. Every kind of animal you can think of.
A big open field, sort of, I think, is how you describe it.
Well, it started out kind of in a room, but yes, it opened into this field. And I'm sitting in this field, and it's just beautiful, and I'm watching all these animals, and all these, they're playing, and they're young, and they're having fun, and they're just joyful. They're beautiful souls, and they're sent to help us heal and to love us unconditionally, because we don't understand unconditional love. But animals do, so they teach us something, don't they?
Yeah.
So they are teachers to us. And
of unconditional love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, I was watching them, and I felt this energy on my left side, and it was a mountain, and it was the energy on a mountain, and I knew it was something really important. Now looking back, I know it was Source. And I wanted so bad to get up there. I wanted so bad to be on the top of that mountain. Like, I could feel it. I needed to be there, but I couldn't. I couldn't climb it.
You're in this field, and this field is, you refer to it in the book as the waiting station. So this is sort of a place where you go because you're transitioning back into your human life, and that's a big transition. And there's this place that sort of prepares you, and the animals are part of that preparation. And while you're waiting, you sense this energy to the side, and you look up, and there's a mountain there. And then at the top of this mountain is this energy or light, or what was it?
It was Source.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it any other way. It was everything. It was everything. And I could feel the love coming from it. And I wanted to be in the presence of its love, like the animals were.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get to it, so it came to me. And the Source still stayed up on the mountain, but this beam. So, this is why I don't talk about this on podcasts. This beam of light came at me right into my soul.
A beam of light came into your soul, yeah.
And I was everything, and I was nothing. I was perfect in every way. And I think I've spent my life looking for that love. That's the love. It's everything. You are everything to them, and you are nothing because you just are. And you're perfect to them no matter what you do to them. You're perfect. Sorry. And I never talked about this for years, and then I decided that it was time, and it's been really emotionally hard.
Yeah.
Because you want to be back in that love.
Yeah.
And then I looked to my right, and there was like this cobblestone effervescent cottage. And this beautiful being of angel being, I call it my light angel, my light being, came out towards me, and she was floating. And all I could think of, I was coming back into my humanness, I think. All I could think of was, I want to float. I hope I get to float. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, that she was floating. And she came to me, and she said, "It's time to go, Susie." And I just flashed, and I was on the edge of this river, water. It was water.
Right.
And she was telling me that I'm going to come back, and I'm going to have some difficulties, and that I'm going to persevere, and that I'm going to help people. And with my story that they've given me, and with my life journey, I was going to be helping people.
Yeah.
And I didn't didn't feel resistant to go, but I also didn't really want to have a hardship. Like, I didn't really, like, what's that mean?
Yeah.
That, things are going to be a little difficult. And then she said, but it's time for you to go see your mommy. And she explained to me that we go through the water. And I never connected those dots till someone said to me, well, we're born in the womb of water.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, never connected.
Right.
And I was in the water, and my mom said she kept hearing the whole time, your baby's in the freezer, your baby's in the freezer. She heard it 3 times, and finally she listened. And she ran out. She saw the garage door closed, and we didn't have garage door openers at the time. She said, Susie can't open that.
Right.
So she was going to turn around, and something told her not to. And she opened up the garage door, and she went over to the freezer, and she opened it, and she spun me around, and she said I was ashen, and I dropped, basically.
Right.
But into her.
Right.
And she said that I was completely ashen, my fingertips were blue, and she said that I wasn't breathing. And there are no cell phones, so she couldn't carry me to get a phone. She just needed to get to a phone. She was screaming for someone, and she was trying to get to a phone, and she dropped me, and I fell, and I hit my chin on the pavement of the garage, and I still have the scar, actually. I cracked my chin open, and I took a breath.
It woke you up.
Yeah. It made me take a breath. And the next thing I know, when I opened my eyes, I could see spirits everywhere. They were everywhere.
So this is a change. So prior to this experience, you saw some souls leave animals, and you're not sure you'd ever seen any human spirits, but now you've come back from this experience, and describe what it's like.
I could see, hear, feel, sense, know that there were people talking to me, and I didn't know who they were. I knew they were from the spirit world, but I didn't know who they were, so it scared me.
Right.
I knew they weren't human, let me say
Right.
that. And I thought they were the boogeyman or something, because we always grow up learning about the boogeyman.
Right.
And I was seeing and hearing things, and I saw them looking in the windows at me, and I covered my head and said, go away, go away, go away. And I did that my whole life.
Right.
And do you walk around seeing spirits still?
I can if I want to.
Oh, but you can turn it off.
Yeah. So what happens is, James Van Praagh is actually the person who taught me how to turn it up and down. I went to one of his classes, and he walked right up to me, and he said, you've had a near-death experience. You have spirits all around you. You need to get real about this, because you need to help people, and you need to learn how to turn this on and off, because it's all over you. And I just sat there stunned. I didn't say a word. I was like, how does he know this?
Right.
But I ended up admitting it to him, and he taught me how to turn it down like a radio dial, turning it up and down.
Wow. Okay, so you had this experience as a child, and it changed your world, and suddenly your psychic abilities, let's call them, have so just expanded, and that ultimately became the skills that you then went on to use to help so many people in the world and write this amazing book and connect with people.
Yeah, I think I was always a healer, and I always wanted to help people, but I think that experience advanced it.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't just wanting to anymore. I was compelled.
Right.
And I didn't want to write a book, by the way. I didn't think I was a writer. I did not want to write a book. I had no clue I was going to write a book.
Well, you've written a brilliant book. It's an amazing book, so you are a writer. But there have been a couple other moments in your life where you've then revisited that experience that you had as a 6-year-old, and you talked a little bit about your brother when he passed.
So when my brother died, I didn't know he died. He died by suicide on my birthday.
Yeah.
And I remember I was downstairs walking around, and I heard Susan, because my brother used to do that to me, and I go, stop doing that. And I knew something, but I didn't know what I knew, and I ran upstairs and I covered my head. And my brother came to me at the side of my bed, and my brother was schizophrenic, and so I got in fear, and I thought he was going to hurt me, which he would never. But I don't know what happened, but it was so weird to see him there, and I said, go away, go away, go away. And he went away. And then the next night, he was at the end, he kept coming. And so just to fast forward a little bit, by the third night, I was like, what's happening here? And he was standing at the end of my bed. And he said, I want to show you something. And I literally came out of I was wide awake. And I literally came out of my body. And I could feel my soul being pulled. And I landed on the yellow brick road with my brother. And he showed me, like we went to a garage and he showed me my parents arguing over him. And then he showed me some of his life journey. And he said, I never have to feel that way again. And I thought, that's odd, like what's going on? I didn't know he died. Like I didn't know. Right. I should have, but I didn't. It's my brother,
Right.
And then I was on the yellow brick road and he was telling me, you're going to wake up tomorrow morning. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And you're going to hear I died.
Oh.
And it's not your fault. And I said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And he said, I just want you to remember this. I know it's on your birthday that I left, and you're going to find that out. It was 3 days after my birthday, by the way.
Right. Now, at this point was, yeah.
Yeah. And he said, but I want you to know that it's not your fault. Because I had gone through something where I had to leave him behind for a little while till I could find a home for him, and because he lived with me, so I would have taken responsibility. Of course, I did anyway, but
right.
And then he said, I gotta go. And I said, wait, have you met God? And he goes, I have to leave now. And he said, but I'll never be gone. I'll always be there, and I will help you always on your journey. And he said, and I will help you with your gift. You'll help people with your gift, and I will help you help them.
Right.
And I said, Terry, don't go. And he turned around, and I just saw this bright, bright, bright light like I cannot describe. And he started walking away. And I thought it was because I was being punished for asking him if he saw God. But that wasn't what it was. And the next thing I know, I'm like, pop, back in my body, and I'm still awake. And I look over at my husband, and I shake him awake, and I go, I can go to sleep now. And I've done that so many times. He was like, okay, go to sleep. Because I'm always awake. I'm always awake when I get visitors. So he's like, go to sleep. And I went to sleep, and the next morning I got a call that my brother had died, and he was, they found him, it had been at least 3 days, they said.
Yeah.
And that was my verification. But to see that again, to see that beauty again, the angels were standing on the path, and the words and the music were coming out of their mouths at the same time. I don't even know if they were mouths.
Yeah.
I just know out of them, the words and the music were coming out at the same time. And I understood that they created music for us to have peace and calm. That music elicits feelings and emotions, and it helps you move through your emotions and your love.
Right. And there was also a time when you were put into a very deep trance, a very deep hypnotic state, where you again journeyed to the other side.
So, the weird part about that is I've had my brain tested, and they say I don't trance.
Right.
So to trance was really odd for me. And I was working for hospice, and a psychiatrist came in, phenomenal psychiatrist, came in to put everyone into a trance, to hypnosis, to teach them what it's like to find out you're going to cross.
Right.
Like what happens to each individual. So they start out very basic. You go to the doctor, you find out you're sick, but you don't know how sick, and then you go to the doctor and you find out you're sick and you're dying, and then you end the whole process. And at the very end, he takes you through letting go. So I'm in this deep trance. I'm there. I'm like letting go, right? And it's like let go of the car. Let go of what's the next 3 things you want to let go of. My car's easy, my house is easy, etc. But then it got to my family. And he said 3 more things, and then 1 thing, and then 1 thing. And I got to my children, and I broke down because I knew I was letting go. This was it. I was gone. I was in another place at another time. And I felt I was crying and sobbing, and I was saying, please, please don't make me say goodbye to my babies, please. And it was so intense and so real.
Right.
And I feel these arms come around me, like the most peaceful, loving, that same spirit that I saw on the mountain
Right.
or wrap around me, and they said to me, "You will never leave them any more than I ever left you."
Oh.
And I was like, boom, back in my body. And they had called an ambulance because they said my pulse had risen and they couldn't get me out, and my blood pressure was dropping really low. I was dying.
Wait, so in the real physical world, they're calling ambulances and they're worried that you're dying because they can't revive you from this trance that this very talented psychiatrist has put you in. So in the real world, there's crisis going on and you're having a conversation with source energy,
Yeah.
who is wrapping his or her arms around you.
It was so powerful. It was more real than my NDE. It was so powerful.
Wow.
And I woke up and I was fine. And I looked around the room and I am drenched in tears, drenched, like the whole front of me. And I look around and everyone's sitting there like this. Like, what the hell's wrong with this woman? Is she crazy? What happened to me is I was taken back out and put back there. Like I was able to go there in a hypnotic state.
Wow.
And it was so unbelievable. And so at that moment I knew, like beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they never leave us.
That all happened sort of in the process of letting go of these beloved beings, your children, and you're having to let go of them. But what was the lesson that sort of came with that with regard to all the people in our world that we love?
That we never leave them. We're always with them, and we don't have to be afraid to die because we stay. And that they will always be with us. They will never be without us. That was the lesson. And I was going to be working with death, so they wanted me to re-experience. That's what I believe.
And this is the essence of your work. People who are grieving, who've lost someone, you are able to give them this direct experience that, well, yes, the person isn't physically here, but you haven't lost them.
My goal is for people to understand that their loved ones are still there. They're still breathing and alive. We're just birthed into a different segment of our journey, of our soul's journey. We are not gone. And if I can get that across, it's like having therapy for a year. One session can be like that if they just allow it, if they just allow.
And also, when you were in the room, let me see, the room of knowledge. When you were in the room of knowledge, you were seeing this soul group who are all coordinating this life together, and they're all going to play different roles in this life. Is it your understanding then that, when we lose a loved one, that person is very likely part of our soul group that was playing a part in our relationship? So even though they've crossed over to the other side and we're physically separated, we eventually will cross over to the other side and be reunited with our soul group, with our loved one again.
And make a new decision, yes.
How's
it going to look? How's it going to look? They just said this to me, so I'm going to say it.
Why not?
Okay, I've never said it before, so if it's going to make sense.
Okay.
The reason we don't believe in them leaving is because our brain wants to hold on and survive, so it says no, 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 no. There is nothing to leave for.
Right.
And our soul believes. So when we're in our human body, our brain is going, there's nothing to believe. You don't want to be there. This is the only real thing.
Because the human part of it is designed to survive, just to survive no matter what. Yes.
I just heard the brain says, hold on, survive, no way, it's not real, because if I believe it to be real, I'm leaving.
Right.
And the soul, I wrote, says, I believe.
So the soul knows.
The soul knows. But that's why we fight, and the fear comes in. Because the brain's going, no, be afraid of that.
Right.
Because then we're not going to exist here. And we need that, don't we? We need that to stay, because this is not easy.
So that gets us to a question which you sort of touched on, but I want to reintroduce the question. You've had a life of dying when you're a 5-year-old child. You've had 3 suicides in your life. You've had abuse as a child. You've had so many difficulties, this terrible pain about not being able to have children on your own. You ultimately adopted a beautiful family. So much struggle, and we all suffer so much. What is your understanding, having been to the other side, what is your understanding about why we go through so much here?
Well, we're in this space to learn and grow, and it's like being in a classroom, and all of our experiences is our teacher. Right. And everything we experience helps us help ourselves and others, but we also expand. And again, our soul wants infinite expansion because it is infinite. And it wants to learn and grow to the point of total understanding of everything we can possibly. So if I talk to you about the ocean, this is an example, and you've never put your feet in it, you've never smelled it, but you read a book all about it and I told you all about it, you wouldn't really know the ocean until you put your feet in it and smelt it and rolled in the waves. And that's kind of what it's like. Like, we hear and learn about things there, but we don't experience them there. This is our experiential place. And the reason we go through pain, if you think about, you cannot see the stars without the backdrop of the black. You have to have the dark to see the light, because otherwise there is nothing to see.
It's the contrast of being in the darkness that allows you to understand what the light is. You have that in your book, that metaphor, and it's so powerful and so clear. And so we as human beings have to we choose to delve into that darkness, like that little girl that you saw in the room of knowledge, saying, I want more, really darkness, it sounded like, because the angel's going,
there's both. I mean, there's both, right? Yeah. We have beautiful things here. I mean, look around.
Yeah, there's so much beauty in this, but that all that pain, it gives us the backdrop, the black sky against which to see these beautiful points of light. Yeah. That's the point of it. And with that, we help other souls, because we are healers, all of us. We actually want to help and support others. We do. We just don't know how sometimes, and our brain gets in the way. And unfortunately, the brain can be narcissistic, it can be sociopathic, it can be psychopathic. And again, you're not talking about David's wife necessarily coming up. Yeah.
That's so funny.
So one of the dynamics of the podcast, or one of the core dynamics of the podcast, is I'm someone who has done spiritual journeying and investigations for decades and decades. David, not so much. I've sort of dragged him along. David, what do you make of this conversation? Because this has been such a powerful and insightful and beautiful and profound conversation. Where does it leave you?
I'm struck by how similar the messaging is to other people that we've talked to, other things I've read. The messaging seems to be consistent. So is everyone drinking the same Kool-Aid, or have they all learned from the same books, or is this really what's going on? I want the experiences, not near death or anything like that, but I would love to go into a hypnotic trance and touch source and things like that, because there's so much doubt in me. It's hard for me to fully accept everything that I hear.
Well, the thing is, David, if you're not doubting, you're not human. Mm-hmm. And with the doubt comes the questions. Without doubt, there are no questions. So they're good with you doubting. You don't have to worry about it. It's your brain that wants the solid information. None of us will ever feel absolute. We have a brain that tells us different because it wants to survive. Do you ever doubt
it? I mean, but you
absolutely. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'll go into work and I'll go, what if I'm fooling people? What if I'm harming people? Oh my God, what if this isn't real and I'm making this stuff up and I just happen to guess it the right way? Right. And they tell me, let's see how you feel when you get done working today, Susan. So yes, I have doubt. I think a medium that says they have absolutely no doubt and they know 24/7 absolute that it's there is not a human being.
Right.
This is a process. It is not a plunge. We're not diving into the cold water. This is a process, and you're getting warmed to it. And that's exactly how you get there. You get warmed to it. Just the fact that you've opened enough to go, I'm willing, I want it, is enough for them to give it to you as time goes on. But it just takes time.
On a final note, Susan, let your walls come down for a second and just take a look around and let us know if you see anyone here with David and me.
Well, I definitely see a grandmother, and I think she's around David, and she feels very strong in his energy, like she's trying to help him.
At this point in the conversation, Susan does a quick reading for David, focusing on his two deceased grandmothers, who Susan sees in the room with us.
It's an I or E sound, and it's strong for me.
I have a grandmother named Ida.
Ida, thank you. That would be probably it.
Minutes into the reading, Susan sees these spirits show themselves as orbs of light.
But not mean, just not, you guys just had a huge orb go past you, you're going to see on the tape. Literally came
Really?
from David and just went across the screen.
All right, so if you're watching the video, you can actually see the orbs go by.
Came from David and just went across the screen. She's moving through here. I just want to tell you that she's moving through here. You're going to see her twice. Now I've seen her twice.
The orb is one of the grandmothers, you think?
Oh, I know it is.
Oh, okay.
I know it is because we're talking to them.
And they keep going by for that experience. And
that orb is popping around. Just saw it again. I saw.
And by.
So I don't know if she had a John in her life or if she's singing this because she liked to sing. And as I'm saying it, you guys are going to see two orbs go across the back of him.
Okay, so I want to interrupt the episode for 1 second and just ask David, who's here with me.
I'm here.
Okay, so you saw the orbs go by in the room.
The so-called orbs.
And what did you make of the orbs?
I can't fully explain the orbs. I want to explain the orbs. I want to explain away the orbs with a trick of the light. We got lots of windows here, and a piece of dust floats in front of the camera.
But I've never seen them before in all the 20 episodes I've ever done.
You've never seen those before. It's murky. It's very like I want to think that those are spirits, and it is. It's difficult to explain given the timing in the video.
Okay, I just wanted to do this little check-in. Now let's go finish the episode.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Susan, this has been
incredible.
Yeah, I was so excited about it, and rightfully so. You've just shared with us so much incredible information, and honestly, we could go on for hours and hours, I think, and not exhaust it.
No, thank you. It was wonderful being here. You guys are easy to talk to, so I'm grateful you and honored that you asked me.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Realization Lab on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.